Handball, football. It is finals time in Division 7 down to 2 and 1 week to go in Division 1. Sean, I am so excited, mate. What is coming up tonight?
Oh, we got a fair bit on tonight's show, haven't we? Got a bit of a round table discussion without the round table, but something that we've been promising for a couple of weeks is a little bit of a, investigation into the salary cap, and we've got Jim Parkinson from the Prince Alfred Old Collegians and Craig Scott from the Goodwood Saints Footy Club joining us. So stay tuned for that, folks. What else?
Well, I know we have a bit of fun, but that is a very serious discussion, and it's an absolute ripper. Not to be missed because it's very educational for a lot of people out there.
Time your toilet breaks tonight, folks.
We're going to cover all the scores. And the other thing I did notice watching the goals and marks, we won't tell who does what, but did you see how many muddy grounds there were this week? It's a winter's game. So well done to all the teams out there that played through the mud and the wet and the slop and the slush. I'm jealous of that. And there were a couple of you. Karen Rolton was just beautiful, of course.
Yeah, I guess there'll be a few clubs get investigated. I think Houghton have lost their home final this week.
That, yes,
it's going to be at Ingle Farm, so I definitely know that's one.
Yeah, that happened.
That was Saturday just gone, wasn't it? Yeah.
But there's another one coming up this week, so will they shift again?
Yeah.
Of course, we've got an introduction to our handball game, a proper one, not us two monkeys, but a proper one this week between two very outstanding gentlemen, but we'll stand by for that one. We've got all the awards going on around. We announce of course, the women's grand finals were held, and of course, all the stuff about sport or that we can introduce in the time that we've got. So stand by, folks. It is absolutely sensational leading into the finals. We'll be right back after this break. Well, folks, we're down here at the Banner Crew. Our friend, supporter and sponsor of Between the Posts has joined us. Welcome, Jason Goods.
Thanks, Tony. Nice to be with you.
What can the people out there expect to buy from the Banner Crew and get looked after?
Pretty much anything that you can put your club logo on or a message from the club, whether it be, like you mentioned, a marquee or a flag or an A-frame or a banner, a stubby holder, a pen, anything like that, anything that you can pop the club branding on. Everything's customisable. So basically we've got an in-house design department with 2 graphic designers that can work toward getting the message across that you're after.
We're down here at 318 to 326 St Vincent Street, Port Adelaide. Jason, thank you so much for your support.
Welcome back, folks. Well, as we make our way around Clubland on a week-to-week basis, it would appear that there is one topic that is on everybody's lips, and that is the Community Football League imposed salary cap. Now, this has certainly heightened over the last 4 to 6 weeks, with one of our Division 1 clubs being investigated, and also the suggestion that a Division 2 club may well also be breaching the cap. So we thought it pertinent that we would have a round table discussion and invite a couple of representatives in from Clubland to examine all things to do with the salary cap. So joining Tony and myself this afternoon are a couple of stalwarts of their particular clubs. First of all, Craig Scott, the president of Goodwood Saints. How are you, Craig?
Good, thanks, Jacko. Tony.
Good to have you here. And Jim Parkinson, who is the football director and co-chairman of the Prince Alfred Old Collegians. How are you, Jim?
Tony, very, very well, thank you. Very, very happy after the weekend.
I'm surprised you two blokes are sitting next to each other now after the weekend.
It's just a game, Jacko.
Well, it is just a game, and I guess that is the context of the discussion that we're leading into. So let's get straight into it, guys. First question, straight off the bat, are you in favour of a salary cap?
Well, I suppose it's an interesting question. Am I, as the president of the Goodwood Saints Football Club, in favour? Is the football department in favour?
You should be in politics.
I should be, shouldn't I? So there is no easy answer, because I think a club has to go through and work out their finances and work out, do we want to increase the salary cap? Are we happy with it at the moment? So from our perspective, we'd have to look into it in a lot more detail to work out whether we want to increase the salary cap.
Sorry, not so much specifically asking about increasing the idea of a salary cap. Let's face it, it's only been with us for probably 10 years. Prior to that, it was left up to the club to determine how much they were going to be prepared to pay. So are you in favour of there being any type of salary cap?
Without a doubt.
Yep. Jim?
Couldn't agree more. Has to be. There has to be some sort of restriction to what people can do. we'd like to think they all follow the rules, but if there was nothing, it'd just be open slather and it'd be a mess.
All right, gentlemen, a little bit of a different aspect from me. I'm 24 years old. I wish I was. 2 clubs want me, both offering the same amount of money, but I'm studying to be an engineer or some kind of professional. I'm buying a house. First of all, is there a sign-on fee?
No.
Brown paper bag?
You would like to think not, Tony.
Without a doubt, there'd be some clubs that doing a sign-on fee, but it's quite clear that you're not.
So I'm still caught between Club A and Club B, whoever they are. My girlfriend or partner owns a hairdressing salon. Is there any help there? Can we create a couple of maybe client names and get payments that way?
No.
Well, you can but
promote the business.
You can pay a girlfriend or something like that, but it's in the salary cap.
Yeah.
It's in your weekly payment.
And the other one, you mentioned the sponsorship was a good way to...
Yeah, if they wanted to sponsor the
them on
club
board.
and we can promote the business. But anything you do, you need to declare and you need to get it okayed.
Can I be helped with my studies?
Has to go into the cap.
Everything under the cap?
Correct.
Can I be named as an assistant coach or a curator?
Not sure about a curator, but you can be named as assistant coach. But again, that fee comes into the salary cap.
Okay. Can any payments be made for my house?
I suppose, but again, it has to go into the salary cap. Whatever we give that player, it has to come into that salary cap.
And there's a limit as to what they can get each week. In the Adelaide Footy League, it's $400. So you can't get any more than that.
All right. So my question was going to be, would any club engage in the above activities? More so, I'd probably say don't engage in those activities would be the safer bet. Okay, old scholar payments versus recruits in. So having coached at a couple of clubs, I've seen some things up close. And it can happen throughout the league, and it's not pointed at an old scholars club in your case, Jim, in this case. But we sometimes see a player will get recruited for the top dollar, $400, and there's old scholars running around that are playing great football, as good as, if not better than the recruit. Can that cause disharmony?
Look, from our perspective, you've got Port District's got a couple of new players who are juniors to the club. Prince Alfred have people that have gone to the school, that have gone to the club. I think that's what we want. We want juniors to come back to the club. Now, of course, when you've got someone like Trengove who's playing at Prince Alfred, other people go, oh, he must be playing for money, and they can't comprehend that someone would actually want to play with their mates and play at their old scholars. Yeah. And that's why with Districts, they've got some juniors. They're there because they love the club.
It's fantastic.
Tony, that's we often get asked that question. How can you do that? We pay every player something.
Yep.
And the majority of the players that are on the lesser amount understand completely why a Jack Trengove or a Chris Curran or a Hayden Jolly or a Mackenzie Slee, why they get more. And there is an understanding that they will get more. Reality is, as Scotty just said, that they play with us because they want to play with their mates and they want to play in a good club, and we think we're a pretty good club.
And I can imagine it's not easy negotiating with every player on the list about who, what, where, when, and some of the stuff is unspoken. So my final question, Sean, is the coach involved in player negotiations? If he is he given a budget, and do you recruit the best available, or do you recruit by need because you're spending money here?
We do it. The coach has a lot to do with recruiting, and he would have an influence over us as to what we would pay them. We look not only at the footballer, the quality of footballer, but also the quality of person, which I'm pretty sure, I know Scotty would do exactly the same thing. And it's absolutely vital. We spoke briefly before that clubs can get success out of paying more than they perhaps should, but it's not sustainable. You don't see too many clubs that pay an enormous amount of money one season, win a premiership, yes, but they can be bottom the following season. We're in this for sustainability. Our role is to give Prince Alfred College old scholars a game of football. That's really what we're about.
So what would you say to the clubs that would say to you, Craig and Jim, that you have a decided advantage in that you've got a really good old boys school network. You've got kids that come through the school that qualify under the point system year in, year out. You've got a breeding ground for footballers. You have an advantage because you've been a successful club for a long time. I'm in charge of a club who is trying to make its way up. And I don't have either of those advantages. So one thing I do have is a lot of wealthy supporters, and I have a well-run football club, and we make a lot of money. And for years prior to the salary cap being introduced, it was common knowledge there were clubs paying out over $100,000 a year in salaries. If they were able to survive year in, year out, why shouldn't they be allowed to?
Because in the end, you have super clubs, and you end up having the same clubs paying each other all the time, and you'll end up the death of other clubs. And you've just got to have where everyone has the same sort of opportunities.
Okay, so it's about evening the competition. That's the main reason, you think?
Jacko, I think it's very important. Every club starts somewhere, and Goodwood Saints, yes, they've been a mighty Division 1 club for over 30 years, I think. Every club starts somewhere. There's no other reason why another club couldn't be doing exactly that. If they get everything right, if they get their hierarchy, all their systems right, they can be Goodwood Saints. A district club can be Goodwood Saints. An old scholars club can get their way to Division 1 if they get everything right. It's so much more about things other than money.
So
money
it's
isn't
about
the key
patience.
thing.
Perhaps it's a little bit about
Well,
patience.
it's about having the right people in the right positions.
Okay. I think we would all be in agreement sitting here tonight that there are clubs that are cheating the salary cap. Are we all of that opinion? And if we are, my question to you is, how do we stop it? How do we make the Community Football League salary cap more than a white elephant? And by the way, we did invite the SANFL representative on today to be with us. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us. But how do we make this cap actually something that is governable?
Well, the SANFL has the integrity unit, and they do look at investigate clubs. I personally would like to hear more about what they do. I think they should come out and speak to clubs more often and talk to them about what their unit does and how they look at other clubs. And I have no doubt they would suspect some clubs. I mean, when you get 4 ex-league players go to one club, and I know they've got to try and still fit in with the points, but you do kind of question if because the Community Footy League is $500 maximum, that theoretically they're paying them all $500, and you know that something's not right there. But me personally, from our club, I would like them to come in and maybe speak to our management committee and express what would happen if we signed the documents and they were false, what the consequences were. And that might put some people on like, right, and we've got to get this right.
67 clubs.
67 clubs, yeah.
The top level, you would be thinking due diligence, the way the contracts are handled. And I guess my experience, the lower levels, it's, as we were discussing, it might be just come down to the pub, we'll meet you, and here's the contract, sign that. You know?
And that, Tony, is they if a player signs that, that's signing a statutory declaration in front of a JP. And if they lie about that, they can go to jail.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very serious document. So I guess my point is that it's education. A lot of people wouldn't know that.
Okay. So I guess my frustration with it is, personally, if I was asked, I'm not fussed one way or other whether there's a cap or whether there isn't a cap, because football survived forever and a day without a cap. It's only in the last 10 years a cap's been introduced. Now, I think it was introduced because the AFL fed it down. They were worried about players being lost from the SANFL, and they need to keep the SANFL relevant. Otherwise, the AFL has no breeding ground. So I think that's the reason they brought in a cap. But I am of the strong belief that there are a lot of clubs that, I probably shouldn't say a lot of clubs, there are certainly clubs that are breaching the salary cap. And I find that distasteful. So I guess my question to you is, how does it sit with you if you know that there are clubs that are paying above the cap?
I think it's frustrating, but it's something that's been going along for some time, and I don't think we ever try and compete with them. Right. If we know that there's another club and sometimes another league, that's probably more important. I think it's really important. I think the Adelaide Footy League is very good, right, but there are definitely some other leagues who are paying outside, and we just don't compete with them. I think you've just got to rely on your club being enough to attract the player because of the people who are there, your success, and to enjoy the footy. And if they want to go somewhere else for the big money, that's fine. Maybe they're not the type of player that we want.
Okay, so if the SANFL representative was sitting here with us this afternoon, what advice would you offer to him or to her? What's that, to him? What advice could you offer to him to make the cap more
Policeable.
policeable, correct? Transparent?
Very, very hard question, Jacko. I think it is there needs to be a real presence of a person from the integrity unit to be seen to be active and to be looking at their figures, looking at their books, and there's all sorts of talk about various clubs and what they do. But has anyone ever actually gone in there and gone through their books? Not the submissions that we have to present to them, but dig a little bit deeper. If they're really serious about it, that's my view. If there are clubs cheating, they will always find a way of hiding it, which is terribly frustrating because we'd like to think we're playing an even playing field. But that would be my biggest push for them if they just really became very proactive about their investigation.
See, to me, it's not that difficult. I don't know whether I'm naive on this whole thing, but to me, one of the things that I would do each year was look at the recruits that come into any club. And if they didn't have an affiliation with that club, as in they weren't juniors, they didn't go to the school, then generally they don't know the coach, then what's the reason they've gone to that club? Or what's the reason they've selected that club over two other clubs where they may have an affiliation? And it's generally one reason. Now, if you've got enough of those, you start to work out that $2,500 doesn't go too far. So that's the point at which I'd be bringing clubs in and putting them under the microscope. And whether you sit there with a lawyer or your legal representative, I'm talking about the SANFL, I think until we start pinging a few clubs, my feel is that the whole salary cap is a white elephant. I don't know what your thoughts on that are.
Oh, look, I mean, a forensic accountant would be another person, but again, it's the costs that go with it. I don't, and I'm really not aware. I think there's been a couple of clubs that have been pinged, but you would have thought there'd be more, and maybe again some education about this is what the clubs have done and telling us about what we need to be careful of.
Jacko, I think you need to have a salary cap of some sort. I just think it wouldn't be good for clubs if they just went off on a tangent and all of a sudden they're paying $70,000 when they can't afford to do it. And yes, it's their own fault for doing it, but I just think there has to be some sort of restriction, and then the next step is for the SANFL to really enforce that restriction.
Just a quick one on that. Just to quantify, you can go on to the Adelaide Footy League webpage. I went on when we were discussing on the phone and I went through. There's a pile of pages, so there's no reason for anyone to be doing the wrong thing because there is education on there. There's a whole pile. There's one main sheet with the set things. And we talked about that. There's other incentives that you can use outside the 400 with the best players and different things. And then each section gets broken down. I think there's about 27 to 30 pages in there. So I guess coming from the lower clubs from my end is you haven't got, with all due respect, you might not have the lawyer or the professional people looking at it. You might just have, and we love the volunteers, but it might just be a volunteer that goes through it and says, I think this is what we need to do. And so they go out. So some of it might be naivety from the person doing it. And trying to keep up with the books as well, because that's a volunteer trying to keep a list of, let's say, 40, 60 players, who's getting paid, what's happening, how did they get to the club, how did you entice them, signing the contract, making sure a lot of these players only turn up to training once a week, etc., etc., etc. So there's a lot of, holes that need to be filled, and I like what you've said. Maybe someone comes in, gets all the clubs together and does a big educational.
The word you used a lot then was volunteers, and we know how difficult it is to get those now, and to get one that has some understanding of those 27. And you're right, everything you need to know is on the Adelaide Footy League website, and it's brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. We refer to it regularly, but for some that, not that I do it, but Hawley does a lot of it, and it's it's a lot of it's legal speak and that sort of stuff, exactly. And it's very difficult to understand.
Yeah. But the Adelaide Footy League would say, why didn't you come in and speak to us? Why didn't you say this is what we think about doing or whatever? We would have picked that up and we would have helped you.
And it doesn't take long, does it? Sorry,
no.
It doesn't take long. It's a 5-minute phone call. Yep.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure whether we've made any real ground here this afternoon, to be brutally honest with you. it is I guess one of the things that I find frustrating with it, and you guys would know this as well as I do, the players are your best sources of information. And when I was at Goodwood Saints a couple of weeks ago, speaking to a couple of Goodwood Saints players, names were going left, right and centre about how is this club. We know, because people talk, players talk, and it becomes common knowledge. And my only hope, really, is that if we're going to stay with a salary cap, that the SANFL grows a set and starts pinching some clubs, because it's clearly written in the rules. It's not a court of law. They don't actually have to prove beyond doubt. You can challenge it if you get pinged. But please, SANFL, find a club, pinch a club, and put everybody on notice, because at the moment, that is the rules that we are to abide by. So let's start having clubs abide by. Before I bid you two gentlemen, fine gentlemen, farewell, it's a couple of quick other topical situations that have happened in the last week. I'm looking for your input. How do you feel about clubs challenging the league and in the court system?
Can I start on that?
Yeah, go Jim.
We don't believe that community football has a place in a Supreme Court. I'm not even sure that AFL does, to be perfectly frank. It is an interesting comment, because I think we seem to be losing the trust in the umpire, and whether that umpire be the umpire on the ground or whether it be the tribunal manager on the Wednesday night. We always seem to be trying to object to everything we're doing, and I fear for footy a little bit in that space, because we're always complaining, we're always dobbing other clubs in, which we despise. We don't like that at all. Fair enough, if someone gets whacked behind the play, you've got to do something about it, but it's just changing, and I don't like. My personal view is that I don't like community football clubs going to a Supreme Court. I think it's sending the wrong message.
Scotty, any other current issues out there in clubland that are concerning you, or that alarm bells are ringing for you over where the game's going, or are you happy with everything?
I think the game's fantastic. I really do. In fact, I think Division 1 football is outstanding. I watch AFL occasionally, and I don't enjoy it, whereas I enjoy community footy. I think our biggest issue for our clubs is grounds, because we're all expanding, especially with women's program, and so trying to find green space is really difficult. And my other concern is super clubs getting bigger and bigger, and having 2 or 3 teams fielding in a division of junior footy, with other clubs on the side struggling to field a team. I think the SANFL needs to come in and go, rightio, this is your maximum, and we need to be supporting some of these other clubs. We need to do something to make sure they survive.
Yeah, I think that's always, in history, that's always been a difficult one to manage. And I can remember probably 10, 15 years ago, Henley Football Club was a junior powerhouse in the western suburbs, because it had a very good junior program, very good junior coaches, so people were prepared to go a little bit further to take their kids there to play. And it was only when the league stepped in and said, okay, from now on you're only allowed to field one side, which meant players then started drifting back to the other clubs, and they're all able to field a side. So I understand where you're coming from with that. Anything you want to ask Tony before we leave?
I want to get these gentlemen on to the handball, mate.
Right. All right. Well, folks, I hope that that wasn't too draining for you. Not sure we solved anything really tonight, but I think we've made enough points, and hopefully somewhere along the line. Yes, Tone?
We had a round table in a horseshoe shape.
Yes, not sure what happened to our round table either. But we are going to see that these blokes who can talk footy all day and represent their clubs, we are going to see whether they're any good with the handball, Tone.
Correct them on that. Come on.
Right, let's head over there now. Thanks, guys.
Righto, folks, we've been waiting for it. It has arrived. We've got 2 of the most astute administrators in football with us at the moment. Mr. Jim Parkinson, of course, from Prince Alfred, and Craig Scott from Goodwood. But Sean, It's time to get physical. What are the rules in the handball comp? Come on.
3 shots for the right, 3 shots for the left. 10, 7, 5, 3. I'll be the counter. There'll be no going to Supreme Court. There'll be one judge here. There's no recourse. What I say goes. There's a prize for both of you at the end. Good luck, Scotty.
Thanks, Jim. Rightio.
Hello, here we go. Come on.
7. Liner. Yeah, I'm hard. I'm hard. 7. Liner's out. This is not tennis. 7. Hit the line. 10.
Who's in front?
Marco on
17, that'd be.
give that 10. It's
7, 7, 14, 24.
24 and 17 and 7. 24, 24.
So we're lefties now?
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
Want to move
Hang
a
on,
bit
are you a left
closer?
legger, Catholic?
No. Spreads out for college.
31. 31. 2 on the same. 7, 38.
You get that yourself, that one. No, I'm in camera there. Over the top.
38. Oh, we're going to have to go for a
Jeez.
tiebreaker. 10.
Oh, 48.
48.
This is it. This
No
is it.
pressure, Jim.
Oh, yeah. Wiped out a
Jim. Well, we didn't win Saturday, but I'm happy with that.
Come in.
Sensational. Come in. So we've got the magnificent Archie songs. Guarantee you'll sleep in these, Jim. So very well done, sir. Enjoy
Well done,
them.
Scotty.
Thanks,
Enjoy.
Jacko.
Lovely to be
Thanks,
here.
Tony. Well done, Jim.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you
We'll be
very much.
rolling that out next year on a weekly basis.
How good
Thanks.
was that? Hope we can camp on next year. This segment has been proudly sponsored by the Banner Crew, raising your brand awareness and bringing your ideas to life. And Archie's Thongs, the most comfortable thong you will ever own.
G'day guys, the Simon Black Academy is all about education and sport. Our partner in education is Torrens University, where our students either do a 1-year diploma course or a 3-year Bachelor of Business. Around that we run a football and athletic program based here at Norwood Oval, and it's all about trying to develop and take our students' game to a new level. Around that also, our third pillar, besides education and football, is personal development. If you want to get involved, check out our website, which is simonblack.com.au.
Thanks, folks. Now time to go around the grades and have a look at what's happened in all the respective grades over the weekend. And Div 7 were the first division to play finals on the weekend. They are, of course, the CMAX Clinical Research Division. Tony, what happened in Division 7?
Well, it was a replay of the last minor home and away game, and it was Houghton Districts versus Adelaide Lutheran because we knew that they were playing at Ingle Farm this week. Adelaide Lutheran again came out the winners, 21 points. The scoring shots and inaccuracy were a highlight because 5-12 to 5-4 after half time. They kicked 9 goals, 20. So 5-12 after half time. So a little bit of inaccuracy, but this continues on through various grades. You'll see some differences there. Unfortunately, there's an elimination final. That's what happens. But Flinders Uni, good on them. They forged on. Yeah, 4-4 to 4-6 after half time. They won by 5 points. This week, Greenacres, who are right up there, I reckon they're a Monty, but anything can happen in finals. Greenacres play Adelaide Lutheran and Houghton play Flinders Uni, and we're just discussing, will that game be shifted again? Let's wait and see.
Right. Div 6 then.
That's correct, Sean.
Let's move on to Div 6, which is the O'Neill Sportswear Division. I'll tell you what caught my eye here was 1 played 3. Trinity Old Scholars played West Croydon and won by 13, 14 goals. That's a massive margin, gives them some real confidence going into finals. Hey, let's be honest, they haven't lost a game all year. So them and Golden Grove in Division 3, the only two sides I can think of that haven't lost a game. So, yep, they were just far too good. Central United took care of Brahma Lodge and Lane kicked 10 goals, so that was a good effort from him individually. Marion, well, they smashed Para Hills. And Rosewater and Fitzroy, again, a big margin to Rosewater. So for 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, Brahma Lodge, Fitzroy, Ingle Farm, Para Hills, it's all over, Tone.
Mothballs, are they still around?
I'm not sure, but Trinity get the bye this week. Marion will play West Croydon and Central United will play Rosewater.
couple of big matchups there, Sean.
Div 5.
Yes, Wakefield Sports Clinic, and I'll pretty much go, this is the story of the weekend because the inaccuracy, the low scores, and then some games had high scores, so depending on the conditions of the ground. But Kilburn had a 26-point win over Eastern Park to finish their season. Of course, Jaden Davidson the next day won the best and fairest. Now, you know that Kilburn, very strong team, way back when. We talk about it. I spoke about Jaden recently. He won the best and fairest with a record score
this year.
Since they've been doing the 3-2-1 down there at Kilburn. So congratulations to him. Eastern Park march on to the elimination final this week, having lost their last home and away game. So not a real good prep. Jeps Cross, 2-point win over Hectorville.
That was a good big win.
Yeah, 5-10 to 5-8. So this is what I'm talking about, maybe the conditions on the day. Can they repeat it this week?
At Hectorville?
Yes, it is, Daily Oval.
So
yes.
they play both games at Daily Oval. Well, that gives them some confidence, doesn't it, going in this week?
It does.
Yeah.
And they kicked 3 goals, 5. Jeps Cross kicked 1 goal, 6 after half time. So 8 scoring shots to 7. So what a belter of a game to lead into once again. Blackfriars, 53-point win. And I noticed they kicked 17 goals, 3. So we had one division pretty poor scoring, and 17-3 is very accurate. 10 goals, 1 in the second half, and Callum Marchetto and Dylan Richardson kicked 6 goals each for Blackfriars, so well done there. And Colonel Light Gardens, well, they had a 20-point win. Paul McInerney kicked 5 goals, and also Carlin Santillo kicked 5 goals. So this week, Hectorville play Jeps Cross, as we mentioned, down at Daily Oval. Colonel Light Gardens and Eastern Park in the elimination. The 2 teams that will go down this year, St Paul's and Salisbury, that is Division 5.
Fantastic. 9 News look after Division 4. And I guess the big question mark was, could Pulteney go back-to-back? That was the big...
And?
Can it happen? And unfortunately for Pulteney, they couldn't. So they finished the season off with the 1 win they got last week. They'll be glad that the season is well and truly over. Beware the sleeping giant. I said this a few weeks ago. Paraka played Pembroke. Pembroke on top of the ladder. They'll have the bye this week, Pembroke. But Paraka got some real confidence going into the finals. Beat Pembroke by 14, 15 points, 16 points maybe.
Wow.
So, and kicked very poorly for goal, 8-14. So I know that's a barometer for you. So
Paraka kicked poorly, or Paraka did?
Paraka did.
Wow. I agree, Sean. I totally agree.
Plimpton beat Walkerville, so Walkerville have hung on to 5th spot, and I guess the other game was Portland and Woodville South. No news in terms of playing finals footy, but it was good to see Lindsay Thomas finish off with 7 goals to finish what was been a pretty good year by him, So this week, Pembroke have the bye, Plimpton will play Hope Valley, and Paraka will play Walkerville, and unfortunately Woodville South and Pulteney will find themselves in Division 5 next year.
All right, Division 3, Sip and Save, and Golden Grove went along their winning way, 115 points over Westminster. They kicked 11 goals, 14 after half-time. Now, wait for this. They had 40 scoring shots. They had 10 goal scorers. So I like that leading into the finals. It's a spread of goal scorers, not 1 or 2 players doing it. 40 scoring shots. Stay with me. Flinders Park defeated Morpheville Park, and guess how many shots they had?
40.
How's that? First and second team both had 40 scoring shots. A week away from the final. How do I do it, Sean?
Unbelievable.
I lose sleep over this.
Rain Man.
65-point win to Flinders Park. Justin Hardy, 9.
Yes.
9 goals. Do you know anything about Justin?
Yes, he played a lot of league football, Justin. Very good player.
Did he? Where at?
West Adelaide.
Okay, well, very good. Seaton Ramblers, 10-point win. 21 shots each over SMOSH West Lakes. And the other one I wanted to report on, Modbury and Edwardstown. Well, Modbury got up by 17 points. Edwardstown only kicked 1 goal, 1 after half-time. I had put down, though, was it a slog? So I haven't seen the ground conditions, but might suggest it was. 6-7 to 3-8.
Yeah, big game that too, really, because Edwardstown needed to win to get into the top 3. They couldn't. Percentage might have held them out anyway. No, in fact, I think they would have made it had they won. So they've got a home final this week, and the game there will be, well, who knows who they play.
Well, I'll just cover that because the 2 teams that miss out, Morpheville Park and CBC, they go down. But the 5 as we speak, Golden Grove, Flinders Park, Modbury, Edwardstown and Scotch. Now, I know you've covered that in an interview, which we'll get to later, but the games, Flinders Park play Modbury, so 14 and 4 for each. So Modbury are right up there as we speak, really pushing well. And then Edwardstown, they've only one game less than Modbury, which was because of Saturday, and they, at this point in time, they play Scotch. Straight Westminster. So that is Division 3.
Yeah, apologies to Westminster. I think I gave them a fairly big whack the last couple of weeks. It turns out I was wrong. And and I guess the SA Footy Commission will be the
adjudicator.
The adjudicator. Let's look at Division 2, the Breakthrough Mental Health Division. There are a couple of really interesting results in this division. Let's start with the big news on the whole week, which drained our whole news, was the Supreme Court going to provide an injunction to allow Jesse White to play for Broadview. In the end, what actually happened was the Supreme Court ruled that the tribunal needed to meet again, and they did, and his penalty was lowered from 3+1 to 2+1. That meant he was eligible to play. That means he now qualifies for the finals with 4 games played. Mind you, 3 of those were played and 1 was just on a team sheet, but that's well within the rules. So unfortunately for them, it made no difference because North Haven took care of them by 5 odd goals. Sacred Heart, well, they're just marching beautifully into the finals. Massive win over Salisbury North. Gazer, I guess, was the shock of the round. They beat Adelaide University, been struggling a fair bit of late. I believe coaching change is in the wings at Gazer. That's the mail I'm hearing there, which is, guess, no surprise. Henley took care of Unley Mercedes Jets. Now, I believe that game was tight for 3 quarters and Henley came home with a wet sail, which they needed to do because had they lost, Foss Camden beat Athelston in a surprise at Athelston. Had Henley not hung on to win against Unley, Foss would have ended up in 5th spot. As it turns out, Henley 5th, Foss out.
Hard-fought game, that one, too, very quickly. We talked about the conditions. Saw a bit of footage of the Athelston game. There was a dam at centre forward at one point. There was a massive puddle. And the ball, it was one of those days where you kick the ball and it just stops. And then other times it would roll. Saw one of the highlight goals was a soccer. Yeah,
so we've spoken enough about the two sides that get relegated, which are Unley and Gazer. But the finals looks like this. Sacred Heart have the week off. They've earned that. 15 wins and 3 losses. Broadview will play Athelston at Broadview and North Haven will play Henley at North Haven, and that is Division 2.
Welcome back, folks. Buddy Bet Division 1, Port District played Ross Trevor and it was a 71-point win, Sean, by Port District. 5-goal first half, I'll tell you what, 10-goal second half. Shepherd kicked 4, then all singles, so they had 12 goal scorers on the day.
Yeah, I believe it wasn't all their way. At half-time, I don't think there was much in it. So, obviously, a very, very good second half by Port Districts. What I like about Port Districts at the moment, when they can afford to leave Miller Carter out, and I think he's played 3 in the Bs, then they're in pretty good form. Tommy Cochran has played 3, needs to play this week to qualify, Tommy Cochran, so that'll be another interesting player into their mix for finals. But they're doing everything right at the moment, Port Districts.
And our next game, of course, gee, these teams were both up there during the year and Old Iggy's have dropped away. Glenunga, 75-point win over Old Ignatians. They kicked a 7-goal last quarter, 7 goals, 4 to 1 point. Tom Condon, 9 goals. And for Old Iggy's, Will Ferrari kicked 4 of their 7 goals.
Yeah, I'm not sure about Tom Condon. I think he might play reserves or has played some reserves footy at Sturt this year. So 9 goals out, that's out of 18. It's a terrific effort, obviously. And we all got to admire the fact that Glenunga are sitting in 4th position.
They are,
Look, they play Prince Alfred this week. If they win, they're actually going to finish in 3rd position.
Correct.
But we'll talk about that game a bit later on. But they are, look, Old Ignatians would be disappointed. probably more last week against Ross Trevor. They saw that as their opportunity to stay up there. They're going to go down to Division 2 now.
Out.
So, at times they've really looked like they belonged in Division 1, Glenunga, Old Ignatius. But at the end of the day, 6 wins is not enough, is it?
No, and they had probably the earlier part of the year, they were up a lot higher and bit of belief and everything. But when it falls off, and we often see this, the team will come up last 1 or 2 years and go back down. But unfortunately, someone has to drop out, but huge win by Glenunga. They are the real deal. That's the other side of it. Tea Tree Gully and Paynham, well, 4 goals 9 to 4 goals 14 on Paynham Oval. I believe it was pretty poor conditions. 5 points. Tea Tree Gully, out of their 4-14, they kicked 1 goal 11 to half time. Where are we at, Sean?
Was it the Tea Tree Gully or Paynham?
It's got Paynham Oval here.
Was it? Okay, yeah. Look, the interesting thing for mine on that game was that Alex McKay came back into the team as the playing coach. Now, he'd been out for, I'm going to say 4, maybe 5 weeks with a broken neck. And I only became aware of the story on Friday, and it's a pretty hair-raising story. He didn't realise at the time that he'd broken his neck. He knew he'd copped a whack against Old Ignatians, actually, and in the end, the bloke who cleaned him up got 2 games, but he either played the next week or continued to play and then thought he wasn't right when it got checked out and found out he had a broken neck. So great effort to come back and play, and he obviously realised the importance. They still think they're a chance to make the 5. I say they got no hope. Their percentage is too far off the pace.
Yeah, I was looking at that before. Way
but what
off.
they did do is they put relegation out of the picture too. So good effort by Tea Tree Gully to win that one.
Well, they play Brighton this week, so which brings us to our next game. St Peter's got over Brighton by 36 points. I guess, as I said, Tea Tree Gully kicked 1-11 to half-time. Brighton, 2 points to half-time. St Peter's are really strong. A spread, 7 goal scorers. They're back in the market in that top 5. They're looking good. Brighton. Sort of 2 stories this year, haven't they? They've won some rippers and then just dropped away.
Yeah, they have. They've been very inconsistent. They've won some games. I think they beat Goodwood Saints twice out of their 7 wins. I think they would be disappointed with their season on the whole.
I agree.
It's Mouse's second year there as a coach now, and they'd be a little bit disappointed with that. And for St Peter's, well, their form has been off the boil the last month, 6 weeks. So they would be very pleased about having a win, and now they've solidified their spot pretty much in 5th spot. So be interesting to see what they do this week, given that they're probably going to, well, they'll finish in 5th spot. So
well, they play Paynham Norwood Union there. So funny things have happened over the last few weeks. So where bottom teams have come up and wanting to win and the will to win, and do you put the cue in the rack? I'll tell you what, Sean, the big game that you guys attended, Goodwood Saints versus Prince Alfred. We've got some fantastic statistics that we'll go through right now, and we'll have a close-up look at the game. Okay, so we've come to Goodwood Saints versus Prince Alfred, and Prince Alfred kicked 3 goals 4 to 3 goals 1 after half-time, a 17-point win. Tom Bartlett with 3 goals. Sean, what can you tell us about the data that we've got up here?
Well, I wish I had this data available to me when we were calling the game, Tony, because now that I've had a chance to review it, I might have to call back some statements I made during the game. It's very interesting. If you're a Goodwood Saints person looking at these stats, it would give you a lot of hope for the finals. Watching the game unfold, it looked like Goodwood Saints came at them in the second quarter, but in the last half, Prince Alfred were able to get the game on their terms. But if you have a look at some of the stats that stand out, this is the main one. 58% of possession was in Goodwood Saints' hands, so you shouldn't really lose a game when you've got that much of the footy. You look at the inside 50s, 51-16, an extra 15 for Goodwood Saints. And the other one that stands out is the clearances, 36-18. So Tommy Carter gave them first use of the ball. If I was a Goodwood Saints person looking at that, if I didn't get to the game, let's consider a couple of things. The ground was a slop, so it was very difficult to get any real fluency in the play. But where Prince Alfred, I think, were a little bit smarter was they understood that, yes, the ground was heavy, but they still tried to pinpoint kicks where Goodwood Saints seemed to be happy just to get it on the boot and get it forward. So a little bit more science, a little bit more finesse with the way Prince Alfred played, but this tells me we are in for a good final series. The
other one you pointed out earlier too, Sean, the disposals, which relates to the possession, 202 to 165, but the effective, 77 to 60. So they're ahead there, but the ineffective, because they had more of the ball, they also burnt it as well, so 125 to 105. So some really good stats there. Forced turnovers and unforced turnovers are an interesting one. 6-1, 7-2. So, it's certainly just by having possession doesn't always win you the game. Is it a contrast? Is it blast it forward? Is it short kick versus long kick? You get a lot out of this.
Well, I think the other thing to consider is these sides will very likely play against each other, not this Saturday, but the one after. And will Goodwood Saints be happy to play at their oval? Or on the back of what happened on Saturday, will they be happy to go to a neutral venue
away.
that is perhaps not as muddy? Now, we saw that with Houghton in Division 7, where they went away from the oval and still got the same result, but a little bit closer than they had lost the previous week. So who knows where this game will be in 2 weeks' time. I guess there's some decisions to be made there.
Mate, the pick of the round this week, the broadcast game, Glenunga versus Prince Alfred at Glenunga. What are your thoughts around that one? That's a big broadcast.
Yeah, so I actually haven't seen Glenunga play a lot this year. I've missed a couple of their games when we've called them, but they impressed me last time we saw them play. Saturday just gone, hadn't seen Prince Alfred for a while and thought they were the sleeping giant. They just started to gain some real momentum. Their form's been terrific. Goodwood Saints been a little bit up and down over the last month, win-loss, win-loss. So I was interested to see the result of this game because I have installed Goodwood Saints early on as the premiership favourite. I've now changed that tune. I am now on the Prince Alfred Old Collegian bandwagon.
They've come. Yeah.
But I'm really interested to see how Glenunga goes against them because they have, well, there's not much more Glenunga could have done in their first year in Division 1.
All right. Thanks so much for that, Sean. Very comprehensive wrap-up, as always. Just while we're on the data here that we can see, just like to take this opportunity, first of all, to thank all the cameramen across the 67 clubs that have gone out and got footage of every game. And thank you to the clubs that have provided, whether it's a ute, whether it's a ladder, whether it's a stand, a bit of shelter, a bit of food, drink, whatever. We are going to continue on into the finals, no worries there. Just remember the filming is done for a number of reasons. Yes, it may be used at tribunal if needed. That's probably 1% of the equation. A lot of the other film is, one, the players can watch it back. Two, the coaches, Sean, can use it for so many areas, the back line, the forward line, the clearances in the middle, and all of this data is taken from the filming. So once again, firstly, a positive is thank you to the clubs, all the clubs that have assisted, and please keep it up. And secondly, thank you to the cameraman, because without them, you would have no footage of your games. So very important.
Yeah, and if you get a chance to watch this game, we are very lucky at Goodwood Saints ground. We have an enclosed room to call the game from, so it doesn't matter the weather. I mean, they set the benchmark for a host of different reasons in our competition, Goodwood Saints. They always cater to us. They always give us something to eat, something to drink. They put us in a nice room. The cameraman's always in a great position to be able to film the game in the best possible position. So it is in your best interest as a club to try and look after the cameraman, get them in the best position, because the coach gets a lot out of it.
Just a quick one too. We didn't do this on Saturday, and we will do it now. Our cameramen as well have had the season where, you know, we've had COVID and we've tried to cover as many games as possible. We've got a cameraman, and a big shout out to Dallas Rogers, who's worked a fair bit with James and myself over the last few weeks, but throughout the season. Just so people know, award-winning. He won the award the other night for the #1 in the state for his studies. So he's applying himself to his studies. Part of that is journalism, but there's some other areas as well. But #1 award-winning. So just a quick shout out to Dallas. Yeah. Thank you very much. And I'll tell you what, if he turns up at one of your games, look out, because he will capture absolutely everything. That is it for our Division 1.
You can almost smell it, folks. The smell of finals. This Saturday it starts. Division 2 and below start what they've been building the whole season for. And Division 3 this week in the qualifying final, Edwardstown play, well, as yet we're not sure who, but joining me to discuss that and all things Edwardstown is their long-serving President, Eddie Dessman. How are you, Eddie?
Good, thanks, Sean. Thanks for having me on the show, mate.
It's a pleasure, mate. We've had a few technical hiccups as I drop my microphone. The coach,
Damien?
Yes.
Is he okay?
He's fine. His wife's in isolation, so she contracted COVID late last week. So Damien's fine. He unfortunately can't be tonight. He's got to do all the kids' duties and sporting duties. So yeah, he does apologise.
Well, we've been saying all year that it will be interesting to see whether COVID has an impact at finals time, and hasn't quite had an impact yet, but it's had an impact on us because he was supposed to be here tonight. But
Absolutely.
I'm sure you can fill his shoes, mate. Tell me, how's the club feeling about this week?
Club's pretty excited about it. It's been a big few weeks, obviously, with the women's team. Women's team won a grand final last week, which was fantastic. And look, it's been a really good year so far. But yeah, as we all know, the serious stuff starts this week.
Okay.
So the boys are gearing up for it.
Yeah, so Saturday you played Modbury. It appears to the outsiders who are not watching the comp week in, week out, that the comp in many respects is a top four. Golden Grove are out by themselves, haven't lost a game. The pressure is on them. And then there's Modbury. Who have I missed? Flinders Park.
Flinders Park, yep.
Yourself. And let's talk about fifth.
Yes.
Who's it going to be?
Well, at this stage, we're gearing up for Scotch.
Right.
We believe it's going to be Scotch, but I do believe there is some little scenes happening behind the scenes,
Yeah.
so we're not 100% sure, but at this stage, we're gearing up for Scotch College.
Well, I've got to come straight out and apologise because the last couple of weeks, and I don't generally do that too often, but the last couple of weeks I have had a crack at Westminster about the fact that they are challenging through the courts, or through, I shouldn't say through the courts, through the SNFL Commission, I believe, the fact that they had the points taken off, and I've been saying, well, it's not going to have any impact. Well, as it turns out, at the end of round 18, if they didn't lose those points, they would have finished in fifth position.
That's correct.
So, yes, it is still to be played out, folks. We'll know, well, hopefully those clubs will know in the next couple of days because training's tomorrow night. But I guess you'll find out later in the week. You need to not worry too much about that.
No.
Your record this year against both clubs, I assume, has been pretty good?
Yeah, been pretty good, mate. But in saying that, there's no easy game of footy.
Yeah.
Every week it's a real battle.
Yep.
Anyone can beat anyone on any given day. And obviously with the circumstances with COVID, and there's been a fair bit of the flu and colds going around as well, and that sort of decimated some teams. So I'm sure that we'll find out come Saturday if we've done enough and to prepare ourselves to take the next step.
So has the club given any thought to putting a COVID spy in amongst your opposition?
Oh, no, not at all, mate.
I mean, what I quite often did at finals time would send a nuffy along to an opposition and get him to dress up in their club colours. So like he was a supporter, just to have a look at them train.
Yeah, right.
How about the idea of sending someone who's got COVID in on a Thursday night to mingle with the players while they're having dinner?
No, not at all, mate. It's
thought of
never
that?
crossed our mind, Sean. Sorry, we just do the best that we can to prepare ourselves, and we worry about the opposition come Saturday.
Okay, so where's the game being played Saturday?
Edwardstown Oval.
Yep.
So
are the Bees playing?
So the Bees are playing at they finished third, so they finished. So they're playing at Flinders Park at 12 o'clock.
Okay.
Prior to there, it was Flinders Park finished second. And their A grade are hosting Modbury, so unfortunately, but that's just how it is. Our B grade play at 12, but we've also got a triple header at Edwardstown this week. I believe we've got SMOSH Modbury in the C grade at 10, and in the C grade I think we've got SMOSH and Scotch.
Right.
And then at this stage, it's Scotch versus Edwardstown Oval. Yeah.
How will the club handle that stretching of resources over two different ovals?
Oh, look, mate, one thing, like a lot of footy clubs, but one thing that we're lucky with Edwardstown, that we're blessed with a lot of volunteers,
Yep.
A lot of good people, like most clubs do, and so we'll be fine, mate. Now, I think the only thing is just trainers, so that sort of stretches you between the two, and it's been so close.
Yep.
But our operations manager, Ben Kiddo, he's on top of it already. He does a fantastic job with
He's
it.
been there for a long time, Ben, hasn't he?
Oh, mate, yeah, he's been there forever, and, actually this year's been a blessing in disguise. He's come on board as our ops manager in the senior side of things. He's done a power of work with juniors over the last 12 years, and he still assists with the junior committee in various things in the junior role. So it's really good to have Ben Kiddos around the footy club.
So you've been back in the Adelaide Footy League for 7 years now.
Yep.
2 questions.
Of course.
Was it a good decision?
Oh, yeah, it was the correct decision, yeah.
Right,
Yep,
okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, I won't worry about the second
No,
question
okay,
then, 'cause,
yeah.
I was just curious. How difficult is it to progress up the ranks? You came in at Division 5?
Came in at Div 4.
4, did you? Okay.
Yeah, so we started off okay, but then I think, it's sort of with the Southern Footy League, and they've sort of got their top 4 or 5 teams, and it sort of falls away a little bit after that. But what we've found coming back into the Adelaide Footy League was that every team's fighting to be promoted, every team's fighting for finals, and every team's fighting not to be relegated. So, it's tough. Like I said before, it's every game of footy is a tough game of footy. Yeah, so it's really hard.
Well, I guess the interesting thing for everyone watching the league from outside, and certainly for us that commentate on it, is Div 3 has probably been the only league, I think, where there's been one standout side, Golden Grove, and they've been winning by big margins.
That's correct, yep.
And you know what happens at finals times? Everybody's praying that they lose because they've been so successful. But there's a lot of water to go under that bridge.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Look, and hats off to them, mate. They play some really good football.
Yeah.
They're a really good, strong footy club and a really good A-grade team, and their Bs, and they're really strong throughout. Really good group of juniors coming through as well. So hats off to them, mate. They've worked hard over the years, and they probably deserve to be where they're at.
Yeah.
Look, I think it happened last year. We're all expecting them to go straight up to Div 2, and Gazer got them in the one-off prelim, and they're the ones to beat. But as you know, finals footy, you don't know what happens.
Yeah, well, both them and Flinders Park have been the threatening sides for the last couple of years to go up Division 2 and haven't quite made it, so it'll be interesting to see. But Eddie, thanks for coming in. We haven't had anyone in from Edwardstown for a while, so it's great to see you, mate. What we've got for you, I'm not sure what your size is, but we've got a pair of Archie Tonks as summer is fast approaching. And I'm not sure what the deck is like at Edwardstown, mate, but don't wear socks is my only advice with your Archie thongs. They don't need it. Thanks for coming in.
Nah, my pleasure, Sean. Thanks for having us in, mate. And thanks for the gift too, guys. All the best.
Yeah,
thank you, mate. Appreciate it.
Well, g'day footy fans. My name's Phil Hurd and welcome to the final women's wrap of season 2022 as we look across all the divisions, all the grand final results, medalists and leading goal kickers for women's footy in the Adelaide Footy League this season. This wrap all season has been brought to you by CMAX Clinical Research. If you're thinking about participating in a medical trial, you can learn more by jumping onto their website, cmax.com.au. We start, as we have pretty much every segment this season, with the Power A Division 6. Their grand final was last week at St Mary's Park, and it was Edwardstown, who'd been the best team pretty much all year, holding off a gallant Loretto in their first season, 3-5-23 to 2-4-16. So the Towns, one of the original teams back in town, shall we say, and back with a premiership by 7 points. Through the season, the best and fairest medalist was Jess Patching of Edwardstown, who collected 20 votes. She was also the leading goal kicker from Edwardstown with 36 goals. Yesterday, down at Price Memorial, had the joy of calling the Safety Hub Division 5 grand final between Eastern Park and Fitzroy. Two teams long on struggle street. One had to get a premiership. Fitzroy looked the goods. First quarter got out to a 7-point lead, 1-1, and held Eastern Park 0. Eastern Park barely had an inside 50. But then the Demons started to work themselves in the game. They had a couple of really good finishes, Elisa Butler and Captain Cotton as well. They led Eastern Park by 5 points. Then they, in a low-scoring third quarter, added 2 behinds. But most importantly, in what appeared to be the scoring end, held Fitzroy scoreless. And then in the final quarter, they kicked 1 goal. All 4 goals kicked to the southern end. Eastern Park, the Demons, your Safety Hub Division 5 premiers by 13 points. Alicia Butler got a beanie. She was also the best and fairest medalist for Division 5. So she's got a premiership medal, a best and fairest medal, and a dartfish beanie. That's the holy trinity, I would suggest, in women's football. Her best and fairest votes were by 28 votes. And Amber Elvin from Woodville South kicked 21 goals in the Safety Hub Division 5. Looking back on the Villiers Bakery Division 4, the grand final was last week at St Mary's. These two had a couple of great encounters through the season, and it was Pulteney storming home the win by just 4 points over the Queens of Pembroke Old Scholars. So Pulteney, the Division 4 premiers. Eileen Hivener Ingle Farm won the medal. 25 votes, and Susan Mount Stephen from West Croydon, the leading goal kicker, with 25 goals. To the 9 News Division 3, yes, another championship for the Goodwood Saints. I think it's their third straight flag they've won in the women's in some division. Just a couple of points in it early. I think the key was those 2 goals in the second quarter. Brighton tried to get back into it in the third, but could never bridge the gap. It was a wet, boggy, slog kind of day, I can tell you, down at Mitcham. Not a lot of rain once the game started, but there sure was a lot leading into it, and Goodwood Saints by 7. Jordan Woodards from Golden Grove was the Division 3, 9 News Division 3 best and first medalist with 25 votes, and Hayley Tahini from Hope Valley led the way with the goals this season with 19. Cinderella's Commercial Clean Division 2 reserves, remember last week, Teacher Gully, who dominated the Rezzies most of the season, got up over the Goodwood Saints by 17. Katie Glody from Golden Grove picked up 14 votes, and Amanda Donetskow from Teacher Gully, 21 goals for the Gullies as part of their premiership season in the Division 2 reserves. To the Division 2 league, this again was at St Mary's Park last week. Gazer and Henley, the highest scoring grand final of the lot in the women's. Henley posting 8-7-55 to Gazer's 5-1-31 to the Sharks, Division 2 champions by that margin there. 24 points. Letitia Ackland from Blackfriars, 17 votes to win the best and first medal. Ruth Wallace from Blackfriars, 33 goals, leading goal kick. Yeah, Blackfriars were the best team, went out in straight sets, and Henley took full advantage to claim the crown. We then have a look at the Buddy Bet Division 1 games played yesterday. Hopefully enjoyed the live stream. The Falcons and SMOSH, and what a day for SMOSH. We can see there, tied at quarter time, tied at half time. The critical winning goal came in the third. Paynham got one back in the fourth. A 1-point game, so super desperate at the end. SMOSH hanging on to claim the Buddy Bet Division 1 reserves title by 1 point. Caitlin Whitman from SMOSH, 16 votes, the best and first medalist. Elizabeth Probyn Shingsley from Morphettville Park in the Rezzies kicked 19 goals. So that just leaves the big one, the Buddy Bet Division 1 League, and Morphy Park's the heavy favourites, had the early lead, 7 points at quarter time, 1 point at half time, and then SMOSH had the premiership quarter, as they often call the third quarter of a grand final, kicking 3 goals nil to 1 goal 3 to set up an 8-point lead going into the final stanza, while only 2 behinds were scored the entire 17-minute quarter by Morphy Parks. It wasn't enough, and SMOSH West Lakes, in what you'd have to say was an upset. Morphy Parks and Happy Valley were the 2 top teams through the season. SMOSH have come from the clouds, claimed the cup with a 6-point win. Our best and first, the Dutchke medalist, Celestina Dana from Morphettville Park collected 19 votes. Fiona Walling from Morphettville Park led the way with the goal kickers, 14 goals. Great season of women's footy, battling with COVID and everything else, quite a few challenges. Congrats to all the medal winners, all the leading goal kickers. Hey, what the heck? Congrats to all of you for getting through the season, especially those waking up this morning with a premiership to celebrate. Thank you for watching. My name's Phil Hurd, and been a pleasure covering this for you. Thanks to CMAX Clinical Research. Thinking more about participating in a research trial, you can learn more by jumping onto their website at cmax.com.au. Until next season, with hopefully much more women's footy coverage, I'm Phil Hurd saying, enjoy your summer. See you next year.
Welcome back, folks, and just absolutely sensational to get the SMOSH West Lakes coach and president in from the women's Buddy Bet Women's Division 1 winning team from SMOSH West Lakes. So first of all, welcome Brad Day and Rachel Webster. Thank you for coming in. Now, Brad, we can see that 6 points was the final score, and you didn't score in the last quarter, although the opposition didn't score in the second quarter. First of all, tell us about the conditions. Muddy?
Yeah, the conditions were extremely muddy. Obviously, 3 games beforehand, and a bit of rain earlier on in the week. So even though the day was actually dry, the oval was a bit cut up. So yeah, very muddy indeed. And
the Division 1 reserves won as well by a point.
They did. They've had a few cracks at it in the previous years, 3 times before, and finally on their 4th attempt, got the win by 1 point over Paynham.
Fantastic. Now, I know administration is a very big area, and getting out and signing all the players and everything, Rachel, is very important. But Brad, you've told me the players, this is fascinating. I think there's a lot of men's teams that can learn from this as well. When did you start training, and why did you start training at that point?
Yes, Tony, we started on the 11th of November last year. So we've effectively gone 42 weeks of training. Yep. And had 75 training sessions.
And why?
Why? Because the players requested it. They requested to go back out. Obviously, they'd lost to Morphy Park last year in a final, so they were keen to get back out and start training again.
So it starts so long ago, 10 months ago, 9, 10, 11 months ago, they come out, and this is a reward. I always say it takes you 12 months just to get back to an opportunity, and you've gone out and done it. What happened in the last quarter? They just slowed down a bit there, or just the pressure of the game? How was it?
No, just the pressure of the game. It was a very contested game of footy. When we played them in our second semi, it was a close game and a very contested game.
Yep.
Obviously, Morphy Park got the win in that one, and this game was played out pretty much the same, and the scoreline's almost the same, except we come out 6-point winners.
And I guess the big thing, Brad, the difference between coaching and barracking, you're in this last quarter, it is so close. Tactics for the game, because you've got to coach and not barrack. You can sometimes catch yourself just yelling and screaming, but that's not coaching, is it? So no. What tactics did you do in the last, the last quarter? Did you try and match up on them? Did you play your own game plan, or did they come to you?
Yeah, from the start we tried to match up on them, mainly in their forward line. So if they got it into their forward line, we could sort of repel and then get it out from there. So we had a plan going into the game. Obviously worked pretty well because Morphy Park can score well and score heavily.
Yes.
They've had a few big scores this year, so we knew that they were a threat if they got it into some key players in their forward line that they could kick a score. So sort of had to concentrate on them, shut them down a little bit, and then see if we could sort of move it up the ground, sort of switch the play a little bit and get it across the other side so our runners could sort of run onto it.
And getting the players to understand and execute and not run around with chooks with their head cut off, because it's you've got nerves, adrenaline, but you've got to play for 100 minutes. Half-time, you're down by a point. Can you remember what the address was at half-time and what were the focus areas?
Yeah, I said to them sort of before the game, I said obviously we play it quarter by quarter. It's the old cliche, yep. But quarter by quarter. And they were certainly threatening in the second quarter there. And sort of my plan was to stop their scoring, try to neutralise the game. So obviously we were around the mark, fairly close to them, if not in front, at half-time. Reset, and then obviously reset for the second half and go from there.
All right, well, that's enough, I guess, on the game, post-game. So our better players, Kiana Lee, Charlotte Dolan, Grace Jean Martin, Georgia Eldridge,
yes.
And Astrid Gooley was the best on ground, medal winner. Grace Jean Martin, what can you tell? Young lady.
Young lady,
a fascinating
yes.
story.
So I believe she's still 15.
15 years old.
Correct. So she plays some under 17 halves as well.
Yep.
But I think she's played 7 league games at the Eagles this year.
Fantastic.
So fantastic young talent. And I don't know if we'll see her at SMOSH next year. Unfortunately, I think she'll slot into an Eagles league team and hopefully go on to bigger and better things.
Yeah, and I know Sean was having a chat with you off air. So you've got a fair few of your players that do play in the sample. So do you lose them at certain parts of the season and then you get them back?
Yeah, it depends whether they're playing sample league or sample development.
Yes.
If they're playing league games, obviously if they play 9 or more, they become ineligible. if they're playing development league games, they can play 10 development league games, I think, and they still become eligible to play for us. So, like all the clubs, it sort of disrupts their first half of the season because the development went up to about week 7, something like that. It's sort of the first part of the season, you sort of don't know what players you've got. The second half of the season, you work out who becomes available and try to build a team from there. And we certainly had a second half of the season was really good, really strong, and we had a lot of wins there.
All right, we might cross over to Rachel now because you guys are the only 2 left standing from the celebrations.
Yep.
By all accounts,
we're the responsible ones.
I just wondered whether you got an Uber or actually drove here, but no, you did say it's been administration since. So, listen, premiership players for life, and you're a premiership coach and administrators, premiership for life. The future for the club, Rachel, tell us about that, because what does this mean? Success breeds success. Will you find that players will come out and want to be a part of success?
Well, I hope so. I obviously joined because I've got 3 daughters playing footy, and having that pathway for them to follow. And we were just saying that we're going to see now the younger ones that have played footy from Auskick up are now hitting the age where they're getting picked up by SANFL development squads. They've had that experience over the years of playing, so we're going to see a lot more talent coming through the women's games, hopefully. And for us as a club, we want to create that pathway the whole way through from our under 11s at the moment. Our 17s and 13s are still in the finals.
Still going.
Yeah,
I was just
still
going to ask.
going.
Yes. Yeah. How many women's girls teams have you got? That was the
so we've got under 11s, under 13s, under 15s, under 17 and a halves at the moment, and obviously some of the under 17s have popped in and played A grade this year. I think there was about 8. Yep.
And there's your success, and they can see success up there. The girls through your 13s, 15s, 17s now in 5 years are going to be your senior team. It's hanging on to them and moulding that. Skill development, I've done some work with some female footballers, and I cannot believe the trajectory. Even this year we went and called a game and it was Morphy Park and Happy Valley. The adaptation to the game, probably one for both of you, they're not running around just in big groups anymore. It's and I say this respectfully, they're kicking to position, they're knowing when to run, when to stay home. 5-6 years ago, we were just saying, this is how you hold the ball and this is how you kick it. Now you get into all these theories and tactics, and they hugely understand the patterns of play. So a lot of your work with the younger girls coming through, skill development and club coach, I would suggest with the women's
it's really a big area as well. Like I said to Brad at the beginning, I said we end up with obviously those SANFL players who have got the experience a little bit more, but every year we've got women rocking up saying, hey, I just want to have a crack at this.
Wow. Yep.
And we had that again this year, who had never played footy before, didn't know how to hold it, didn't know how to kick it.
Love it.
Still asking questions like, oh, you just said that, what does that actually mean? Like, you know, so you've got, you know, in that one team, you know, girls that haven't held a footy, kicked a footy, you know what to do, and then you've got others who've done it for years and have got that experience. I mean, we're lucky we've got players like Rachel Killian and that who have had the AFLW experience as well, and that maturity and that to teach the ones coming through. But we've had baseballers come over, basketball. We had a basketballer this year, you know, and those skills often transform really well across.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because leadership is a very big part of it, and the ones that know all the facets of the game, teaching the ones that aren't so sure. And I heard a quite ironic story a couple of years back. They told a girl to play from the square. So the ball came down and the opponent ran outside the line, picked the ball up, and they said, what were you doing? She said, well, you told me to play from the square. So she literally thought, so how you articulate your message, and you know, we say maybe you know, run and gun or pull the trigger. You've got to explain a lot of that in your coaching theory. So fantastic job. A couple of sponsors. You've got, I think, Lighthouse Wharf Hotel.
Yeah, Lighthouse
Can you remember
Wharf
them?
Hotel in the Port is our major sponsor, Fulham Funerals, and this year Peak Recovery come on board, and the players have been able to go out on a Sunday or a Monday night and do some recovery, which has really helped to keep their bodies in action.
Yes. All right. Well, Brad and Rachel, thank you so much. Congratulations. Anything planned for this week or the next few weeks? You've probably got your presentation coming up, have you?
Coming up in a few weeks. So we're
do you
looking
think they'll
forward to
slow down before then, or it'll just be an even celebration all the way through?
Who knows? Who knows?
No, look, congratulations. As we said, 12 months work to get to this point. You're a credit to yourselves and to your club. So thank you so much for coming down on a night when you're probably out there celebrating. We'll let you get back to it. And best wishes. Pre-season's probably going to start in a few weeks.
They need for recovery.
Yeah, all right. Congratulations from everyone here at the league, and well done on a great job. Thanks for coming in.
But Mahuta goes all the way. Where again, Mahuta?
Good grab by Anjana, then Crone late. It's Anjana the Grey. Anjana.
Hillholders went home best.
Life on the wire, Twitchy Frank. Twitchy Frank.
Classic legend, Wild Planet kicking back, Crone dashing through, will beat the lot of them, Crone.
Laugh-a-Lays coming out, and they reach the line, nearly a dead heat. But this is speedy and professional. Profiteer for Mickey D is going to win easily.
Eden continued to open them up late and won very impressively.
And welcome back, folks. Just a quick one. We'd like to present our guests with the Archie's thongs. So first of all, Rachel and Brad, the SMOSH West Lakes Premiership people that came down and joined us tonight. I guarantee you, I say this every time, you will sleep in those. Fair income. You'll have the shoes off and you'll be going home in the thongs. I won't say you'll drive in them. They're most comfortable. So thank you both very much for coming down, and enjoy the thongs over the pre-season.
Thank you.
Get a quick and easy low-rate car loan from Police Credit Union today.
Clubs teaming up with the Adelaide Footy League. Tom Wren on the ground at your club for Thursday Night Live, strengthening communities through footy.
Well, folks, it's that time where we go around the league, and Sean, there is a lot of news this week, but we'll start on a positive, of course. The women's football was played down there at Price Memorial Oval at Mitcham on Saturday, and the Safety Hub, Division 5, Eastern Park versus Fitzroy. Best on ground was number 7, Lucy Johinke from Eastern Park, so I'd suggest they probably got up. Channel 9 News, Division 3, Goodwood Saints versus Brighton. Best on ground, wait for this, number 57, Jessica Chaya. And the Buddy Bet Division 1 Reserves, Payneham Norwood Union versus SMOSH West Lakes. Number 2, Emma McDonald from SMOSH West Lakes. What were the other results there, Sean?
That was fantastic. I didn't realise Jessica Chai won the medal there. Goodwood Saints, where her father was a bit of a legendary player back in the day for Goodwood Saints. Darren Chai, a good cricketer too back in the day. But anyway, we'll move on. Buddy Bet Division 1 Women's Grand Final was between Morphy Parks and SMOSH West Lakes, and of course won by SMOSH West Lakes, and you've done a great interview tonight with them. Best on ground was number 26, Astrid Gooley, so well done to her, and Sam Chadwick from Buddy Bet flew over last Saturday.
That was big news, that.
And to watch the Division 1 Grand Final, and he enjoyed presenting the players with their medals, Tone.
Which brings me to, Sam, we need to have a chat because it's very hard to say. We're going to our Buddy Bet wager. I owe you a donut, a pair of thongs. I'm in trouble, Sam. Get me out of it. And this week, we're going over to Glenunga versus PAOC.
Righto, who are you taking?
A friendly wager, but of course bragging rights. I'm going to go PAOC, Prince Alfred, because I think they're on the way home. Now, Glenunga, which means you're stuck with them, you wiped them out. When we went out there, the first round, you said they were going back to Division 3. Not 2, 3.
And I think Glenunga, to be honest with you, are going to be up against it first year in Division 1. Unless they get some real development out of their juniors, they might find themselves off the pace and back in Division 2. So
I thought they were going so bad they were going to bypass Div 2. That's how it looked from at the start of the year. But have I got egg on my face over Glenunga? They have really surprised me. They have done a fantastic job. And Nathan and I are besties now. And I've got to say, if I'm naming Coach of the Year, Nath, you have got it, son. Straight down the barrel. Nathan Grimer, Coach of the Year.
And if you were selecting a state team, which we're not, the 22 would come from, they would just have a G next to them, wouldn't they? Every one of them.
They'd all be from Glenunga.
Fair income. So remember to download the Buddy Bet app if you haven't already, in order to have a friendly wager, but please remember to always gamble responsibly. Now, last one from the old boy here.
Let's wind it up.
C-Max.
Ooh.
Did you see the umpires in the Women's Division 1 Grand Final on Saturday? The new tops are sponsored by C-Max.
Did notice that. Well done, C-Max. Thank you for that.
Pretty spectacular and a great partnership. We thank you very much, C-Max, for supporting the league. Sean, you've got your award winners.
Yes, award winners from last Saturday's game, PAC versus Goodwood Saints. On the back of those stats, you would wonder why someone from Goodwood Saints didn't get an award, but we haven't been brave enough yet to give anyone from the losing team an award and keep them out on the oval. So we went with Best on Ground, the Bog Belgravia Sports $100 New Balance voucher and the Dartfish beanie. Went to Tom Bartlett. He was as surprised as everyone else at the oval. And I went for Tom Bartlett for a couple of reasons. One, he's a great lad. And I knew
don't
that
win awards for that.
And I thought he might give me some of his prize. But the real reason I went for him was because he was the only player who kicked multiple goals. He kicked 3 in a game where the scores were at a premium. He kicked 3 and set one up himself. So well done to Tommy. Don't be so hard on yourself, Tommy. Take the awards when you get them.
I thought the talk around the salary cap tonight, folks, was a big one and convoluted at times, and we start hearing this.
Yes, let's move on. I went with Craig Pitt, the playing coach from PAOC, for the Simon Black play of the day, and it resulted in a good goal, so well done to him. He won a carton of Powerade and some Archie's footwear. And the $100 voucher from the Moseley Bar and Kitchen, and this one's interesting because it's the opposition coach who's a co-owner in the Moseley who had to present the voucher.
I was going to say he won it.
To Chris Curran, and he won the Moseley team player of the day. So well done to all those guys. Lastly, the winners from last week, Mark of the Week, with an award courtesy of Bianco Construction and Industrial Supplies. The round 17 winner was Jake Mazzoni from the Hectorville Football Club. Well done, Jake. He wins a $100 voucher. And the goal of the week, and this is supported by 5AA and Sip and Save. The round 18 winner was Division 7's Lachlan Pike from Mitchell Park. So well done to Lachlan. He's won a $50 Sip and Save voucher. His season's over, so I'd suggest get your $50, get down there, get a carton and get him into the change room with the boys and have a couple of Sherbies.
Fantastic. And Sportle.
Yes, we are here again tonight at Sportle. The only thing I don't like, there's only one thing I don't like about Sportle, Tone. I don't want to finish on a negative.
Sorry, mate, I have to sit next to you for the show.
The South Road traffic is horrendous.
Oh,
but what
okay.
about the pizza tonight?
Sensational. The Temple even.
You did. I did notice you have you sipped the couple in there. Anything for free?
Inhaled. I did.
But we may well be here for a while. They like us apparently.
No, we'll put the order in for a weekly.
We get pizza every Monday.
It's fantastic, the setup here. We've got the handball there. We're getting clubs in. You can come down and see the actual Sportle scoreboards in operation. Next week, we'll give viewers a rest this week. Next week, we're going to have the fun part, the animations, the countdown into the games, and also the technology around how you can see the scoreboard in not only in the rain, but when the sun comes out, there's no reflections. The technology around this is fantastic.
A few clubs jumped on board already, they're telling me, Tony.
Yes. Well, a couple came in tonight as well, having a look at things. And there's a big day in a couple of weeks down at the soccer centre where we're all going to go down and have a look. So if anyone out there would like to come along...
Corporate box, is it? Sportle corporate box?
We're not at the soccer, Sean. We're at the soccer headquarters. If you'd like to come down and actually see an hour-and-a-half presentation on the scoreboards and how they operate and all the technological side behind it that I can't explain... This is your huge opportunity. I reckon 30th of August, is it? Yes, 30th of August at 10 o'clock.
Well,
it's down at the soccer centre.
Yeah, and they're presenting tonight to the 21 clubs in the Southern and Great Southern Leagues. They're all getting on board it. So, so thanks to Sportle for hosting us again tonight and letting us rave on about your business.
Oh, it's magnificent.
Yeah, it's great. That's it. We finally got through the show, haven't we?
See if we can get the whole sign-off done in one take. Go on.
Listen, I think I signed off last week.
No, I did.
No, you didn't. I did.
Come on.
No, come on. You do it.
I did it last week. Come on. Righto, folks. Zig and Zag here. First of all, our broadcast game. What is it, Sean? Can you remember?
Of course I can. It's Glenunga, my team. My boys, Glenunga, up against Prince Alfred. Old collisions.
Very well done, sir. We'd like to thank all our guests that came in because we had the SMOSH West Lakes and the Edwardstown. And also Jim and Craig. In all seriousness, that was a very important discussion to have. So thank you for that. We'd also like to thank, find us on social media. Remember that Phil's got the comprehensive wrap-up he does every week. It's fantastic on men's. Stay with us, Sean.
Sorry.
On the men's.
I would have wound this up 10 minutes ago.
The men's
don't ever
and
let
the winner.
let me.
You had your opportunity.
Oh, no.
Thanks for viewing. Remember, look after our cameramen, camera women,
commentators,
and wherever you may be watching, you're going to have to take the microphone down, Sean, because it's not a point. May your shots go straight between the posts.